President Trump called Iran's stranglehold on the Strait of Hormuz, quote, extortion, and said the U.S. Navy would immediately enforce a blockade of ships going in and out of Iranian ports starting at 10 a.m. Eastern this morning, which is likely to keep those gas prices high. But CBS News has confirmed Pakistan is now ramping up efforts to restart talks between the U.S. and Iran.
Late Sunday, President Trump brushed off the failed attempt to strike a peace deal with Iran.
I don't care if they come back or not. If they don't come back, I'm fine.
Trump said the sticking point in the negotiations was Iran's refusal to give up its nuclear ambitions.
They still want it, and they made that clear the other night. Iran will not have a nuclear weapon.
CBS News has learned the main stumbling blocks were U.S. demands that Iran stop enriching and storing uranium, a key material for building a nuclear weapon, and funding for terrorist proxies like Hamas and Hezbollah.
This is Sepah Navy Station. You must alter course and go back to the Indian Ocean immediately. If you don't obey my order, you will be targeted. Out.
This is Coalition Warship 121, engaged in transit passage in accordance with international law. No challenge is attended to you.
U.S. Navy warship transiting in the vicinity of Vsiran Port and Oman Sea. This is Sepah Navy. This is Sepah Navy. Last warning, last warning, last warning.
Attention all vessels in Oman Sea. This is Iranian Sepah Navy. If you see any warship in your vicinity, keep a distance more than 10 miles from them because I'm ready to open fire on them without any warning.
Next tonight, a horrific scene at a Chick-fil-A restaurant in New Jersey. Gunfire erupting, killing one person and injuring 6 others. And now the manhunt underway. Here's ABC's Morgan Norwood.
Tonight, panic inside a New Jersey Chick-fil-A after gunfire erupted, killing one person and injuring 6 others Saturday night. Dramatic dashcam footage showing the moment a man wearing a mask bolted from the restaurant with a handgun. First responders arriving to find multiple victims.
I've got an unconscious witness. I've got 1 shot in the face, and I believe 2 in the leg.
According to 2 officials briefed on the investigation, this was a targeted incident stemming from a drug or gang dispute. The person killed believed to have been the target of the shooting. The other victims believed to be bystanders and or employees. This Lyft driver heading to Chick-fil-A after finishing up a trip nearby when he says he heard several shots.
How many gunshots did you hear?
More than 7. More than 7.
It's Monday, April 13. Here's the latest update. The United States says it will begin a naval blockade targeting ships entering and leaving Iranian ports at 6 p.m. UAE time tonight. U.S. officials say that while ships heading to and from Iranian ports will be affected, vessels passing through the Strait of Hormuz to other destinations will still be allowed through. The move follows the collapse of U.S.-Iran talks in Pakistan over the weekend, which had been aimed at stabilizing a 2-week ceasefire. U.S. President Donald Trump has since said he doesn't care if Iran returns to negotiations. Iran has warned that any military vessels approaching the area will be dealt with harshly and decisively. Israel has also continued to strike targets in Lebanon, even as preparations are underway for talks in Washington later this week. Meanwhile, it's now been 4 days with no missile or drone attacks reported in the UAE over
Iran and the US. Here's your latest update on what's happening in the Middle East. A US blockade of the Strait of Hormuz is expected to begin later today after peace talks in Pakistan collapsed over the weekend. Donald Trump threatened to take out Iran's energy infrastructure and blockade all ships entering or leaving the strait, starting on Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time or 3 p.m. BST. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, which is currently in control of the global oil shipping waterway, warned that approaching military vessels to the Strait of Hormuz is considered a violation of the ceasefire. The UN says more than 32 million people could be pushed into poverty as the economic fallout from the Iran war ripples across the global economy, with developing countries expected to bear the brunt. Following nationwide protests in Ireland, farmers in England are planning fuel protests after the Iran war sent petrol and diesel prices soaring to £2 per litre. For the latest updates on the Iran conflict, download the Bulletin app and turn on notifications for your daily briefing on the Middle East.
The astronauts are home now, but there's not much time to relax. Scientists want to study them. The crew are undergoing a barrage of medical tests, including an obstacle course soon after they land to test their balance.
The astronauts start this test lying down. Then they have to get up and stay within this black box area. Come through here, deploy this ladder, clip it in, tighten it. That's been done for me, thankfully. They pick up their kit bag, pop it on their back, climb up to the top. They climb up to the top. This is harder than it looks. Here we go. Hand their kit bag to a crewmate. Thanks, Jason. I'm going to come back down again, pick up their bag, and then walk about 10 metres that way, 10 metres back again. Then job done.
The astronauts do this before the mission and then after.
It's not hard for them pre-flight, and it's typically done in about a minute.
What Iran hopes as a win, and this is very important, Iran sees winning as putting as much political and economic pressure on Trump and the Gulf allies as they can. This is a game of chicken. It's who caves first. And the Iranian regime is hoping that Trump will cave. Today, he showed he's not. Iran knows they're in trouble. Iran has lost everything from the leadership to their missile, drone, and naval capabilities. They're getting desperate. They think they have leverage with the Strait, and they do. If we did not do anything to stop them, not only would they have leverage, they would have even more money than they had before to funnel money to their proxies, even more money to buy supplies for ballistic missiles and continue their nuclear production. I mean, this is something that not just the U.S. should do. The region needs to take part in making sure that the Strait is open.
So does that mean that you believe that the U.S.
These robots are about to compete in the second humanoid half marathon in Beijing. Ahead of the official race on April 19th, the robots completed a full skill test that included fully simulated course scenarios, such as the marathon course. Last year's debut event had more than 20 robots participating, and now over 100 teams are set to compete, an approximately five-fold increase. The race will feature both autonomous and remote control teams.
去年可能大家对于完成比赛就是觉得很厉害那今年的话其实都是整体行业的一个提升。
Human runners and humanoid robots will race side by side, starting at the same time. Last year, a human won the race. China leads the pack in global humanoid robot installations. According to data from Counterpoint, China accounted for more than 80% of humanoid robots that were deployed around the world last year.
Major news out of Canada and a disastrous update for Donald Trump as Prime Minister Mark Carney just signaled that the days of Canada supporting the U.S. military are coming to an end. Watch this clip.
The days of our military sending 70 cents of every dollar to the United States are over.
This is yet another sign that our America First President, Donald Trump, has completely isolated the United States of America from our allies and from the rest of the world, and that the old days are completely over. This reminds me of Prime Minister Carney's speech at Davos when he said that there's a new world upon us, and if MAGA wanted to isolate China from the rest of the world and strengthen the United States of America, that plan has completely backfired, as Canada is now strengthening their relationship.
This past week, he issued a rare condemnation of President Trump's threat to destroy Iranian civilization. The Pope called it, quote, truly unacceptable. He also took the unusual step of issuing a call to action.
Contact the authorities, political leaders, congressmen, to ask them, tell them to work for peace and to reject war always.
The Holy Father usually avoids calling out President Trump by name or any member of his administration. But in a Palm Sunday homily, he appeared to reference the religious language Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, who is Christian but not Catholic, often uses to frame the war.
Blessed be the Lord, my rock, who trains my hands for war and my fingers for battle.
Pope Leo warned that Jesus, quote, does not listen to the prayers of those who wage war.
Iran has figured out that we can't beat them. We're not weakening Iran. We have strengthened Iran, and we can't stop their drone attacks. And what you're seeing is far more chaotic decision-making happening in the White House than is happening in the government of Iran. And it's evidence Trump is losing power.
So when I look through the response to the last conversation, the audience had lots of different types of questions. Like there's 90 odd million people stuck right in the heart of this that often don't really have a voice. What do you think happens next for them? And what is Israel's role in this?
Well, Israel's playing two roles here that have not helped us correctly assess the situation. And we'll talk about that.
And then what do you think happens with Europe?
NATO is, for all practical purposes, dead.
And what happens next?
So for 21 years, I laid out what a hypothetical bombing campaign of Iran would look like. And when I was here last time, every single thing we talked about unfolded in the first several weeks of the war.
So when you did this
President Trump launched an extraordinary attack on Pope Leo overnight. He called the first American pope, quote, weak on crime and terrible for foreign policy. This is after Pope Leo had said a delusion of omnipotence was fueling the US-Israeli war with Iran, and that the president's threat to wipe out Iranian civilization was truly unacceptable. Trump posting, I don't want a pope who criticizes the president of the United States because I'm doing exactly what I was elected in a landslide to do. And that, quote, Leo should get his act together as pope, use common sense, stop catering to the radical left, and focus on being a great pope, not a politician. He also posted this image on Truth Social and said this.
He's a man that doesn't think that we should be toying with a country that wants a nuclear weapons so they can blow up the world. I'm not a fan of Pope Leo.
The Pope had this response.
I do not look at my role as being political or politician.
This is breaking news. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer says the UK will not support President Trump's naval blockade of Iran.